Off the eastern shore of a small volcanic island in the middle of the Pacific, built directly on top of a coral reef, there are 92 artificial islands. Not natural sandbars built, stacked log by log out of columns of basalt rock, some weighing as much as 50 tons. Arranged in a lattice pattern early Western visitors compared to a log cabin built for giants. Outsiders call the site Nan Madol. For over a century, it has been one of the least explained large-scale construction projects on Earth. Not because nobody has studied it, but because the more carefully it gets studied, the less the accepted explanation actually holds together. Nan Madol sits off Pohnpei in the Federated States of Micronesia, thousands of miles from the nearest continent in any direction. 92 islets, interconnected by canals built out over open water and coral reef. The material is columnar basalt, the same naturally hexagonal rock you see at the Giant's Causeway. Except here, thousands of these columns were deliberately quarried, transported, and stacked into walls up to 25 feet high. Some stones weigh 5 tons, a meaningful number weigh over 20. A handful of the largest exceed 50 tons, heavier than a loaded semi-truck. The basalt didn't come from directly beneath the site. Researchers have traced the quarry sources to locations elsewhere on Pohnpei, several miles away by the most direct route. Every one of these stones had to be extracted, moved across open water and precisely stacked. Without metal tools, without the wheel, without a single draft animal on the island. Pohnpei had nothing larger than a pig. The accepted academic explanation is coordinated human labor, rafts, log rollers, generations of incremental effort. It's plausible. It has also never once been demonstrated. Nobody has replicated moving a 50-ton column across open water with Bronze Age equivalent technology and published how. The explanation exists because it's the only one that fits the timeline, not because anyone has shown it actually works at this scale. Some researchers estimate the total stone moved into position at Nan Madol at close to 750,000 tons. Assembled, according to the most widely accepted dating, in a construction push that intensified around the 12th and 13th centuries. By a population that, even at its historical peak, is estimated at only a few thousand people. Not the tens of thousands of coordinated laborers a project this size would normally require. Something or someone organized a logistics operation this small island shouldn't have had the population to support. Long before any Western researcher reached the reef, Pohnpeians already had an explanation. Carried for generations before it was ever written down. Two brothers, sorcerer priests named Alasipa and Alasopa, arrived from a foreign land searching for a place to build an altar. When the stone proved too heavy to move by hand, the story says they used magic. Some versions describe a great dragon commanded to fly the stones into place. Others describe the stones themselves made to float on command. Strip away the word magic, and what's left is a specific, consistent claim. Ordinary labor did not account for what they were looking at. Every culture that preserves oral history about impossible ancient construction reaches for the same vocabulary. Gods, sorcerers, dragons, because that's the only framework available for organization beyond what the storytellers themselves could reproduce. The story doesn't end with construction. Pohnpeian oral history also preserves how it ended. Generations after Alasipa and Alasopa's line, the Saudeleur dynasty took power and ruled from Nan Madol. Tradition says a warrior named Isoklekel arrived, overthrew the Saudeleur rulers, and the site's role as a seat of power ended. A beginning nobody can fully explain, and an ending remembered with just as much specific detail. Two independent oral threads, generations apart, both still standing when researchers finally arrived to ask. Today, Nan Madol is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the most Etrusc on Earth. Mangrove roots and rising seas are slowly pulling the basalt columns back into the reef they were built from. Paleomagnetic dating has narrowed the construction timeline. It hasn't answered the two questions that actually matter. How a population this small moved stone at this scale, and who organized them to do it. The walls are still standing in the water off Pohnpei right now, exactly as they've stood for 800 years. Not fully explained by the only culture that ever recorded anything about how they got there, because that culture wasn't the one that built them.